Good morning. And thanks for joining us for this session at which we listen to presentations from our regional winners or finalists for the C. Peter McGraw University Community Engagement Award. I'm Mort Neuville, retired Executive Vice President at the National Association of the Association of Public and Land Grant Universities, formerly NOSC, now APLU. Each year we solicit applications from our public universities for proposals which exemplify the university's engagement with their communities. We issue an RFP just about November, December of each year. We receive applications, and these applications are grouped into regions, and we have panels, regional judges looking at the proposals, scoring them, and then submitting their scores to me, and I tabulate those and come up with a list of maybe 3 or 4 from each region, and then we meet by conference call and then make a final selection on the winner for that region. The regional finalists are given $2,500 to cover their expenses to this conference and to prepare a 2-minute video. And at this conference, they're given a regional prize of $5,000. They make a presentation, and we listen to these presentations and then make a final selection on the McGraw Award winner. That winner receives $20,000 at the APLU annual meeting. So that's why we're here, to listen to these presentations and make that final selection. With me, we have a panel of judges, and I'll ask the chair of this year's panel of judges, Dr. Wadette Cruzado, who is from Montana State University and the winner of last year's award. We have a timekeeper, Ms. Linda Benning, who will be notifying you when you have 2 minutes and when you're supposed to end. We have structured this for a 15-minute presentation and then 5 minutes Q&A. If you run over, you'll be limiting the time that's available for Q&A. So with that, President Cruzado, please come forward. Thank you very much. Thanks for being here.
Good morning. Good morning. Thank you very much, Dr. Neuville. What a great honor to be here. And first of all, I want to thank the University of Alabama for their wonderful hospitality. Tommy, everything has been absolutely marvelous. It is so marvelous that that's the only reason why I tolerate wearing crimson, which is the color of my rival institution back in Montana. Thank you very much. I also want to start by thanking all of you for what you're already doing in your universities and in the communities you serve. It was really a pleasure. I'm sure that my colleague panelists will agree. It was really a pleasure to read and get to know about these impactful projects. This morning, I'm honored to introduce the panel of judges. And with us today, we have Dr. Ray Cross, Chancellor of the University of Wisconsin Extension, Dr. Paul Ferguson, President of the University of Maine, and Dr. Guy Bailey, the President of the University of Alabama, should be joining us shortly. Dr. Neuville asked if I could talk about the importance of what the C. Peter McGraw Award signified for Montana State University. And I was just looking at the logos that we have this morning everywhere about partner, inspire, and change. And I think that I can use those 3 verbs to illustrate what happened. First of all, the concept of partner. It initiated with our project, which was an Engineers Without Border project that started 8 years ago. And don't let the name of engineers mislead you, because We really had students majoring in engineering and in nursing and in philosophy, in business, in education. And they started this project in a remote rural village in Kenya, the village of Kyocera. And the purpose of the project was to build one well that will be used by one school to provide fresh potable water to those students there. Well, they built that project, but they did not stop there. Over the course of 7 years, when we applied for the proposal last year, the students built 68 wells. And they raised all the money necessary for it, all $500,000. And in the process, they integrated the community of Kyocera in true partnership. The community felt that they owned the project, that this was a two-way street. And it was so wonderful because before then, girls were not going to school because their role was to go every morning, walk for miles with pails of water so that the community could have water. And after the project was completed, it was beautiful to watch the photographs. Then you had the boys pumping the well and the girls helping. But now both of them were going to school. So I felt very proud because I could say that the students from Montana State University were really transforming the world. But then it moved to Inspire. What happened was that, inspired by that project, a high school in Helena, Montana, raised $10,000 to work on a water project in one of our tribal communities in eastern Montana. So it had a ripple effect. And then there's change, because inspired by that award, we were having our strategic planning process at Montana State University, and we agreed that taking our land-grant mission of teaching, research, and service, we had mastered teaching with excellence, we had mastered research with excellence, one of the top 100 Carnegie institutions in the nation. So now we said we want to do engagement. And not only that, we want to integrate the three. And that's the core of our strategic plan. So buckle up, because what you are doing today can be absolutely transformational. And that's what we aspire to have for individuals, for our institutions, and for our communities. So with that, thank you very much for joining us. Good luck, and let's stay on time. Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much, Dr. Cusado, for that inspiring commentary. Our first presentation is from the 1890 region, which is North Carolina A&T State University, in partnership with North Carolina State University. John Sullivan will be the leader of that.
Good. Thank you.
And introduce your team.
Thank you very much, and Charlotte will start our PowerPoint. We brought a few PowerPoints along. I'm very honored. My name is John O'Sullivan. I'm a faculty member at North Carolina A&T State University, Greensboro, North Carolina. It's good to be back in Alabama. I spent 5.5 years at Tuskegee back in the 70s, and before that I was in Africa in the Peace Corps. Before that, and just as an aside, I have a doctorate in history. So the job and the design and the process of what we have been doing, because now I'm a director of a research station in a research center in agriculture, and I've been involved in this process, and it's been awesome as I've been doing it. What I'll do is I'm just going to talk for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to pass the microphone to Dr. Nancy Creamer from NC State University. She'll be followed by Mrs. Cheryl Alston, who is there in Goldsboro in our community, one of our community partners, a principal of a charter school there. And then I think we're ending with Charlotte, if I'm not mistaken. Charlotte Ammons was a librarian in Goldsboro and worked with us with a community garden, a library garden, and has now joined us in Extension. So I'm just very happy to be here. What I'm doing is representing and trying to communicate the excitement of what we've been doing with CEFS, the Center for Environmental Farming Systems. As I say, it is a partnership of ourselves and the universities, the 1862 and 1890, and the Department of Agriculture in North Carolina. We began a number of years ago because of the changes in agriculture in North Carolina. It was loud and clear that agriculture, tobacco-based agriculture, was changing, and we needed to change with it if we were going to be active in it. So back in the early 1990s, we began a process of discussion, try to make something happen in terms of creating an approach that made agriculture still part of who we were in North Carolina. We created the Center for Environmental Farming Systems. The name itself tells you when it was done. Words like sustainable weren't readily acceptable in those days, so the Commissioner of Agriculture suggested this name. Created a mission. We started actually 20 years ago, nearly, in this partnership in 1994. A very strong partnership that has grown as we've been moving along. As we began as a large research station, a 2,000-acre research station with focus in alternative enterprises, especially things like organic and grass-fed and these kinds of things. But then gradually connected out and built a base so that we did not just research, but integrated that into the academic program on campus. We have outreach, we've got apprenticeship and internship programs that students from around the country come and spend 8 weeks at our facility. What we're doing is expanding. We built a basic connection with Extension. We have a partnership with Cooperative Extension in North Carolina so that every county is represented and part of our program. Finally, a community-based and local food system has become the core and the driver and the model and the connection of what we've been doing in our immediate area and across the whole state. We're on a journey. We began this as sustainable agriculture years ago. We got connected and realized it's broader than that and expanded and got into issues of youth and then beyond even into health, and that's kind of where we are right now. Connecting and realizing that the question of good food is really the connector across the state that people are interested in. We began our immediate building of the strong partnerships around meat production. North Carolina, large confinement livestock operation. A lot of concerns on environmentalists about that. We put together a program called NC Choices to have a conversation and to build a connection by which all sides could see mechanisms to move forward with this thing. And from there then, we even expanded it out. Myself and others were working with fishermen in North Carolina and recognizing that local fishing and this industry was desperately needed if we're going to continue to have a vibrant economy across the whole state. So food connecting everyone from producers to consumers. At this point, Nancy, I think you're going to pick up and roll a little bit more with it.
Thank you. I'm Nancy Creamer from NC State and the other co-director of our center. And I'm going to summarize a little bit about our statewide work. We have statewide engagement and partnerships and also community work. So back in 2008, it was clear that across the state, people were thinking about local food systems and the opportunity, both in job creation, economic opportunities, addressing health issues and some of the food-related diseases like obesity, food security, and those kinds of things. There are many successful projects happening all around the state, but at the same time, as a state, we weren't building momentum for systematic change, and that's because we weren't coordinated, nor were we being very strategic. So CEFS decided to lead a statewide initiative. We brought together more than 1,000 people across the state that represented small organizations, large organizations, county governments, municipalities, state agencies. We had regional meetings across the state. We had working issue teams and culminated in a statewide summit where we, as a group together, came up with game changer ideas, 11 of them, focused on 11 specific issues that had emerged from all of that discussion as what we needed to address in the state. The process itself and bringing everybody together got a lot of buy-in, a lot of partnership development. So by the time we were done with that that process, everyone was really keen on getting those game changers accomplished, including several funders that also participated. So I'm really happy to say now, 3 years later, almost all of the game changers have been accomplished. I'll highlight a few of them, and we're ready for round 2. Blue Cross Blue Shield of North Carolina Foundation just funded us to do a whole nother set to develop new game changers. So one of the first things we did was got legislated a Sustainable Local Foods Advisory Council to work on the issues over the system statewide. So the Commissioner of Agriculture is head of that council. I'm the vice chair. We have the state health director on that council. The Secretary of Commerce, the head of extension is on that council, and many of the groups and organizations that were represented. And the council's also done some amazing work already. Another thing we did was we launched a 10% campaign where we ask individuals and business partners to commit 10% of their food dollar to local foods, which would mean $3.5 billion to the state's economy. We've partnered with Cooperative Extension that designated a local food coordinator in every county in the state to help us with the campaign. We're now have 687 business partners. It's been going on for about 2.5 years, and we're tracking more than $25 million spent. Our business, this is just 30 of the 600 and some odd business partners, and they range from Compass Group, which is the largest food service company in the world that has committed to buying 10% of their fruits and vegetables from North Carolina producers for their food service venues, including universities, hospitals, and school systems, down to Girl Scout Troop 734, who also made just a cute little video recently about their commitment to local foods. So we have county governments, universities, lots of folks participating. Many of the other game changers have been accomplished dealing with issues of bringing new farmers, youth engagement, community garden partnerships. I don't have time to go into them all because I really want you to hear from our community partners about some of our community work. One more slide. Okay, the work has meant a lot to the university, of course, in all the ways that you might think about, but also, I guess I just want to say from a personal standpoint, we can't imagine doing this work in any other way without all of the partners that we engage. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Nancy. I'm Cheryl Austin, Goldsboro, Wayne County. And I'm one of those community partners that both my colleagues have spoken so much about. And I'm just overwhelmed that I've been given the opportunity to work with both of these universities. In Goldsboro, Wayne County, we do have a deficit of help in reference to meeting the needs of those people who have all of these dread diseases, in particular, diabetes and cancer. Our youth especially are touched by these dread diseases. We found that many partners and participants from the county had come together, and they have this food movement called the Wayne Food Initiative, and this is why we have WFI. And as this does show you, WFI has a cute little logo there with a little carrot that talks about the good kind of food. This local initiative has been outstanding in that it has received state recognition as well as local recognition, in that we've been funded by the Office of Extension through both universities, and many people of the community have come together. So now we have a diverse group of people working together on this food process. We have many partners in Wayne County now who've been so very helpful. In fact, the city government has come together so well until we're just overwhelmed. We in particular reach then for the change that does happen with children in our area. I particularly work with Dillard Academy Charter School, and this school has been able to serve then food now that's good. Food before had not been good because they didn't know where the food came from, but now growing their own food, wow, they're just able to see what good then they can do with those kinds of things really that they didn't eat before. Our partners, North Carolina A&T and North Carolina State University, has brought in so many resources for us they've done so well until then. Our children look forward to seeing the food corps person come in and just work so diligently on a daily basis with our children. So the connect there has been simply outstanding. We have many projects through this particular connection, and in doing so, our children came up with this logic model. And can you imagine this being just germinating? And out of this germinated being, we got all these projects, all these ideas. And believe it or not, they've accomplished all of them at this point. We're so very, very grateful to both the universities for offering us the opportunity to inspire. And then, of course, we're still working on that change. Charlotte?
Thank you. This is partnership at its finest, right? My name is Charlotte Ammons. I'm Community Food Systems Outreach Coordinator with North Carolina A&T State University at the Center for Environmental Farming Systems. In a nutshell, or a snapshot, if you will, you can actually see on the ground level down in Goldsboro what our community engagement actually looks like. It's entrepreneurial development, it's youth engagement, and it's also community gardens. So we're going to look at each of those three pieces quickly. So one example of our community garden projects is at the Wayne County Public Library. Probably wondering, why does it make sense for a community garden to be at a public library? And actually, I was the librarian at the time, so I had to make the case to the director as to why this makes sense. And ultimately, we figured that everything outside the library in this garden only builds on what's happening inside the library. So we're building on the strengths of libraries. If you know libraries like I do, if you love them as much as I do, you know that libraries are key to intellectual freedom. Libraries are meeting places, they're gathering places, and what better way to gather in the South than around food? So this has been a launching pad to so many amazing opportunities. Another way we engage is through young people. These young people are swarmers, and SWARM stands for Students Working for an Agricultural Revolutionary Movement. And I know, right? Love hip hop. And these youth were actually will be featured in the HBO documentary series, The Weight of the Nation. So please look out for them next year, May 2013. And their work is based on a school lunch campaign. They worked hard to get a salad bar in their school cafeteria. They actually were able to accomplish that. And another arm of SWARM is actually working on the farm. John mentioned our 2,000-acre research farm. We have a 40-acre small farm unit where these youth learn gardening skills, and then they translate those skills out into about a half-acre of space that the city of Goldsboro has donated to them. And finally is our most recent project, entrepreneurship, is the produce peddlers. And the young people that you saw earlier are key in this project as well. We received a USDA Farmers Market Promotion Grant to deliver fresh produce from our farmers in our farmers market to low-income areas. So if you've heard of the term food desert, USDA defines food deserts as areas who have limited access to fresh fruits and vegetables. So with this project, we're tackling a multitude of issues, but we're also empowering young people, not just young people, but folks in the community to look at their cultural traditions, partner those with innovation, creativity, and the rigor of young people. So they are really fueling this project, both literally and figuratively. And this is actually, this is actually a statewide, from our statewide newspaper highlighting this project. So we're excited about that. And as you can see, our journey is continuing. This is really just the beginning. Who needs 20 years? We're looking forward to at least 20 more. So thank you guys very much. We'll take questions.
Questions?
Yes, sir.
What have you learned from this?
What we've learned is patience. We've learned that the overall process of trying to figure out where the assets are, the resources, we can come in as outsiders with certain assumptions, and we tend to be quite wrong. We tend to misunderstand and take, once we slow down, and 20 years, as Charlotte was saying, is a good length of time. It takes the time It takes making connections. Processes are not easy. They're not easy on campus. It's taking us this long to get us back to the campus. In the community, we're engaging, we're trying different routes. Things that seem logical don't until we actually get out there and work with people. And then back on campus. On campus, my new dean just came in, and we're building back from our experience in the community back to the campus as we try to make what we're doing academically relevant. So patience, tenacity, holding to the core values and those kinds of things. I mean, we do believe food matters for us as human beings and for us as a society. And we aren't the only ones. That's obvious as we get out there. And so having that starting point for conversation opens doors, and it's amazing when you get people together.
Congratulations, wonderfully
Thank
good
you.
work. I noticed this line in your proposal that really intrigued me. It said you're attracting high-quality students who are committed to community engagement. Can you talk a little bit more about how those students, other than classroom experience, are finding their way in these wonderfully...
Yeah, no, and this again is very, very awesome because what we have found with our experience is that by having a website that is offering summer internships, and then we expanded that to an apprenticeship which goes over the whole year. The summer internship is 8 weeks. We are getting applications from around the country and around the world. This past year we had 2 young people from Croatia in our program. We had 2 people from Honduras, and we had about 14 from across the United States. And they're involved, and they come to think they're going to be messing around in organic gardens on our small farm unit and that kind of thing. And then through the program, about a quarter of the week time is spent out in the community, working in the gardens, working at Dillard. And the overall process of enlightenment that goes on there continues, and we now have people who are working on their PhDs, who have changed their majors, as well as the awesome thing, and you all brought this up, I mean, to have philosophy students or musicians working with scientists, ag science students. In this process is what this idea of food as community and culture is all about, and to us makes such substance. So that's where we have gotten so far. And again, building that back to the campus is our challenge to ourselves, and we recognize it and are working on it. Yes?
This question is for the community members. So engagement is defined as this two-way street, right? So
Yes,
it's
ma'am.
not only that the university is doing all these wonderful things for the community, but how do you, as a community member, feel empowered and that your input is taken into consideration when these decisions are being made?
Yes, ma'am. I think what's been the beauty of this process is that we recognize that there are strengths that already exist in communities. And me being from this area, I was born and raised not very far from Goldsboro in Mount Olive, North Carolina. Y'all know it, right? Okay, good. But just building on the strengths that already exist in our communities. Most of the people in Wayne County and Goldsboro grew up in farming families. So me coming from a generation of hog farmers, sharecroppers that grew up in that area, what does it mean for us? I mean, I'm not that old, but what does it mean for us as a generation? My daughter's next generation is growing up the first of our generation who hasn't had that direct on-farm experience. So how are we informing their process and their upbringing and their connection to food and foodways and the stories that we all grew up with? So this gives them that channel, it gives them that door, that opening to be able to do that and find their own path and their own way into this process of food. When you look at those swarmers, you know, you see how they enter into the process. They enter through a pretty, I guess, very their own generational kind of way, which is deeply rooted in Southern culture, Southern movement, but also hip hop generation. You know, so that's how they came up with their name. So it gives people space to make more space, and that's what we're excited about. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Our next presentation is from the North Central region, Miami University, Ohio, Over the Rhine Residency Program. Could you introduce your colleagues?
Yes. We're hoping that we can speak from here. Let's bring it over one more. My name is Tom Dutton. I am from Miami University. We are the team from over the Rhine, Cincinnati, and Miami University. I'm the only one representing Miami University. We want to start out with our video, and then we'll then each talk for about 3 minutes to fill it out. So we'll also then go into a slideshow, but we will not talk directly to the slides. It will be a backdrop for the kinds of things that we would like to say.
What makes this center special in terms of schools around the nation is that there's a long, sustained presence in a community that has resulted in deep relationship building with the community.
You know, I came out of the Drop-In Center 7.5 years ago, and what has sustained me has been the types of relationships that I have with Miami students.
There are three narratives over the Rhine. The first being one of poverty, disinvestment, and crime. The second one being a narrative of rebirth, renaissance, redevelopment.
But both of those narratives miss completely the fact that there's been an effort to build community for the last 40 years, represented by the Over the Rhine People's Movement. The challenge put forward by the community is seek out those most oppressed, most vulnerable, so that we may learn how to live.
The Over the Rhine Residency program is a really powerful program, and the 16-week the students live here really shapes them. I always tell them, I hope you're not coming to help us. I want you to come here, walk beside us, and listen to us. Be a good listener.
The architectural services they provide for affordable housing development have ranged from schematic design for funding applications, or actually doing design build, creating beautiful living spaces that would compete with some of the nicest condo development here in the neighborhood.
In the community assistant work, students from majors other than architecture work in neighborhood organizations, with children at Peaslee Neighborhood Center, with political action groups, with those homeless at the Drop-In Center, and our student teachers teach full-time in the neighborhood school.
I love this program. It totally changed the course of my life. It set me on a path. Our work is a seed that gets transplanted throughout the world, wherever the students go. What's so cool about this program is that it was designed to benefit the community. It was designed to impact a student, grow a student, and at the same moment, benefit the community. It becomes this wonderful relationship where everyone is gaining. And I've seen it many times over at different organizations.
Can you read that? So I'm Tom Dutton, and we approve this message. What I would like to start off with to say is that my involvement in the community dates back to 1981. In 2002, with the city, the neighborhood's blessing and its collaboration, we created the Center for Community Engagement, a Miami outpost in that particular community. And the residencies program started in 2006. Over the Rhine is adjacent to the downtown core. It is on the National Register of Historic Places, but it is a neighborhood now marked by the extremes of homelessness and gentrification. A lot of people are being displaced. We primarily aligned with those most oppressed, most vulnerable in that social justice struggle. So students, they live there the entire semester. It's an integration of academics and a lived work experience where they're doing 15 hours a week working in organizations. Teachers are working in the schools, architects are doing design build work, working on property owned by the Greater Cincinnati for the Coalition of Homelessness, and also for our primary partner, Over the Rhine Community Housing, a nonprofit housing development corporation dedicated to low and moderate income occupancy. Students take 15 hours. 3 of those core courses. One is called Theory and Practice of Service Learning. Another course called The American City Since World War II is team taught with Bonnie Neumeier and me. And it's important to throw theory at these students. What is happening in the American cities since World War II? And as they begin to sort of grapple with this theory, as they integrate it with their visceral lived experience in the community, that's really helps and is what works. We have 4 practices very quickly. Community assistance. Like I said, students are working in community organizations that serve the underserved. They might be at youth at the Peasley Neighborhood Center working on the organic garden. They're working with music and after-school programs in various sorts of centers. They're working with those homeless at the drop-in center, the 2nd largest homeless shelter in the state. That's community assistance. They also do community advocacy, where they are, how much time? Almost. Okay. The community advocacy, where they might be working with marches and petition campaigns, and we bring in, because the university is 40 miles away, we are able to bring in scholars and so forth, community organizers from around the nation to come on in and work with the neighborhood. They do design build work, and we also do what we call agitprops, agitation and propagation. Think of these as artistic installations that project community knowledge out into space. The most recent one is that we did a 2-foot by 18-foot historical timeline of the People's Movement history. And then that gets displayed all around the community and generates a conversation.
Hello, my name is Josh Spray. I'm the Executive Director of the Greater Cincinnati Coalition for the Homeless. And in our work, we constantly interact with people that just don't get it. And the problem is that often these people are in seats of power. So they think that people are homeless because they're lazy, criminal, stupid, and they just don't want to do it right. And a lot of times those folks sit not only in political positions, but development positions, or they're social workers, or they're educators, they're architects, they're developers. And so that means we're continually hitting roadblocks with them. Roadblocks that force our folks out of their homes and into the street and under the bridges. And we are continually facing that head on. And what is, you ask yourself, well, these folks, they must have had higher education. They had the opportunity to go to college, so what happened? Or what didn't happen? And what didn't happen is they did not go through something like what this program offers. So in our neighborhood of Over the Rhine, we often see people that come into our neighborhood, and they either come in with the idea that they will save or they will take. And both are equally immoral, I believe. Folks in our neighborhood, we often say, we have an education part of our organization. We say when you say the words homelessness and education together, people assume you're educating people who are experiencing homelessness, and we say, no, they probably know about it. They don't really need the education. And that's how Miami University and the Center for Community Engagement sees it as well. So we come and we work together. This teaches the concept of width, that our people, our neighborhood does not need Miami. Miami might need us. We don't need them. But we are able to work alongside each other and create something that collectively did not exist before. And therefore, the students that then leave are able to go out and combat and be different from the people that we are running into on a continual basis, the folks that are getting in our way from systematic change. So if you've heard that poetic description of the folks that see the people floating down the river, and they continue to create systems to go out and catch the people, save the people, homes to house the people, and then eventually somebody says, let's go up the river and figure out where they're coming from, why are they being put in. Miami helps students to learn to ask the question, where are they coming from, and gives them the vigor to go up.
Hello, my name is Amy Silver. I was a student in the residency program, the second year of the program in 2007. And the program is a semester long. It's a full semester, and at the end of the semester, I didn't leave. So I've been living in Over the Rhine since my senior year of college. I'm a social worker now at an organization that I actually interned with when I was a student. I worked at Over the Rhine Community Housing as a student, and I work there now as a social worker, working with residents to help them sustain their housing, to help connect them with resources that they might need to move themselves forward wherever they would like to go. But I kind of wanted to walk you through very quickly a student's time in Over the Rhine and what it looks like and how powerful it is and why this program is so wonderful in my opinion. So students sign up for this program for many reasons in my opinion. I signed up because I wasn't satisfied with the stories that I heard about this neighborhood. You hear that it's dangerous and it's, you know, there's a lot of drug activity and it's poor and people don't care. And I knew that that couldn't possibly be the whole story, so I decided that I should probably find out a little bit more, and this program is a really wonderful way to flip everything on its head. And I think a lot of students sign up for that reason, because we want to know more, what's really going on. And why this program is so powerful is because you're there for the whole 16 weeks. You're not coming and serving at a station for an hour, you're not staying for a week or 2 weeks. You're living in the community in a house next to neighbors who have lived there for years. People know that you're coming, they expect that you're going to be there. You interact with people on the sidewalk, you take classes, you're in agencies, you're doing design build work if you're an architecture student, and you're seeing real life as you're learning about things in the classroom. So it's not just, oh, people are lazy and they can't take care of themselves. You're learning the systematic causes of why people are in poverty and why people might be dealing drugs on the corner and why kids are struggling in school. You're not just able to brush it off as a quick problem. You actually are delving into the systematic issues of some of these injustices that are facing our country. So on top of all of those things, you're processing this experience with your fellow students. You live in community. You're able to go through these very difficult issues all day long, and then you come home and you debrief and you process and you grapple and you struggle. And when you look at the course of the time there, it really is a struggle for students, but everyone gains and everyone wins at the end of it.
Hi, thanks for being here. My name's Bonnie Neumeier, and I'm a longtime community resident and activist in Over the Rhine. I sometimes say my great-grandmother grew up there, so I think her spirit called me there in the late 60s, early 70s is when I got involved. And I've been a part of the co-founding of a lot of grassroots organizations in our neighborhood. And I guess listening to Tom, Amy, and Josh, I feel a real sense of pride because I know it's been our neighborhood's efforts, our sweat and our struggle that built a movement that made it possible for people like them to connect and participate with us. Because we've had this movement on the ground for years. And I believe there are these kinds of communities all across the United States that higher learning institutions can really kind of connect with if they go really look for them, that these things are already happening. And I just think it's been rare, our experience has been that someone was willing to walk aside us, work with us, and allow us to be the lead, that we let you know what we need and how your resources can benefit our movement. So I really believe that we wouldn't have wanted to connect with this if we couldn't see how we benefited. So that's real key, and that's sort of the challenge of it. But our neighborhood effort, if it's students working on historic tax credits to help us do an affordable housing group, our Peasley Neighborhood Center, they helped us build a safety city where we wanted to do broaden the children's learning in our backyard. But then there's also things about, I meet with the students every Wednesday night and I do journaling with them to help them process that. I really see how their worldview is shook up and they're learning to see the world through different eyes other than their own. And then just last week, I had some neighborhood women come and share their leadership story with the students. And the pride, giving us the space to tell our story. That Cassita and Cassandra, after that event, they were saying, Bonnie, I feel empowered to wake up and start again. Both of them are single heads of households. But they get that space to share their story. And so we are affirmed for what we know. And even though a lot of our people do not have degrees behind their names, they have a real lived experience that has something to offer and to give these students. And our pride is that it's getting a ripple effect. Wherever these students, I get emails from students that experience this program telling me what they're doing and how they probably made different choices because they came and worked and lived and walked beside us. So I just think it's a real impactful program.
that we have this, and we're really grateful for that partnership because we're seen as equals, that we have something to teach as well as learn, because they give us space to think out our struggle and think of strategies and things like that. So it's really a great program, and thanks for picking us.
Any questions?
Tom, one of the things we ask about is the scholarship of engagement. Could you say a little bit about publications you've had or anything related to what we define as a scholarship of engagement?
On our center's website, we have a long list of papers and that have been published in, some have been published in all kinds of established journals, but also the effort is to try and actively intervene in the discourse in Cincinnati around these narratives of poverty and rebirth and renaissance and so forth. All of these things, well, I'm probably the one that has written the most of these things, all of them are vetted with all these people and other people in the community. It actually goes through quite a collaborative, it's an extensive, tiring process, but it's actually very good. And so I think we've affected the discourse in Cincinnati around these questions. And we try and publish everywhere. And I talk everywhere. I mean, we all talk everywhere where in Cincinnati and across the United States. Yeah.
Thanks so much for your commitment. Can you just give me a quick overview of the kinds of funding that supports what you're doing? I see an awful lot of things going on in the slide set. Where's the funding coming up?
I can't tell you. No, just kidding. There's the design build work does cost a lot of money, and sometimes it is the result of financial packaging by the nonprofit that we work with and so forth. A lot of it, I was able to convince the university to sort of fund this on a workshop model. I mean, when you as a faculty member want to take people to Europe over the summer, there's a way to recapture some of that tuition, to fund something like that. I was able to convince the university that we could do that for a regular semester. So we get some of the tuition back to pay people. We don't pay these people enough. We utilize people in the community to come meet with our classes, and we give them like a modest stipend of like $25. I mean, that's just horrific in a way, but it's all we can do at the moment.
I want to add too, if it's clear, that this thing started probably, this connection in 1981. Tom's curiosity as an architect professor in our neighborhood was doing a comprehensive plan. It was called the 5520 plan. We were trying to preserve affordable housing. And it's that sustained relationship. We didn't trust him overnight. A lot of people come in, want to study us, dissect this, and all that kind of stuff. But from that relationship, it has grown to this residency program. Because there was the design build studio pre the residency program. The students came down twice a week. You know what I mean? So it's been this sustained relationship. So it doesn't happen overnight, because communities need to feel that sense that they're not going to take, we don't have that precious time to give. You know what I mean? That what time we do have to give has to benefit us too. And that takes time to work out.
So what's in the future?
Well, it's working, and it's working well. I mean, so oh, 2 minutes? Okay, so it's working well, and I think we want to continue. I mean, we now have kind of branched into the spring and the summer, but they're a little different. The fall program is open to all majors and so forth. The spring program is open to teachers and architecture majors, because the teachers work full-time in the school, and we have worked out a deal with architecture majors working in a corporate firm downtown. But they don't work for the firm, they work in the firm for our over-the-rain community housing, a nonprofit client.
I think the challenge is that the neighborhood has changed since the students have come in 2006. We have to be more deliberate about where the students can engage the common person, not the yuppie and the gentrifiers. Not that you can't learn something there, but I think it's been more of a struggle to figure out how to engage the students, that they get the perspective of those that are oppressed. So I think that's changed since 2006.
I think another piece that's important, the trend of our city leadership is to privatize and gentrify. And And so that is the construct that's taught in most of our area's schools. And this flies in the face of it and says that doesn't have to be the construct that is taught. And I think it has changed the conversation around, like we get invited into other universities to speak, and I think it's because this is happening.
If you should win this prize, what would you do with the money?
Go to the Bahamas.
Can I speak to that,
Yeah,
Lisa?
go ahead.
No, really, I think we want to figure out a way that the community can benefit, because we have done things with our hands, our feet, our voices, with very little resources. And some of the projects that the students get involved in, some of that money can be used to do a more extended program, plus give more stipends to neighborhood people that come to our panels, where they're doing relationships and things like that. Right, Tom?
Pour it back into the community work.
Thank you very much. I don't want to lose you, but you have been sitting for a while. I'm going to give you a 5 minutes stretch, and we will start the next session with East Carolina University, the Southern Region winner, Carrie Littlewood, Deborah Moody.
Well, thank you. We are just so thrilled to have an opportunity to share our community engagement work with you today. My name is Carrie Littlewood. I'm faculty with the School of Social Work at East Carolina University and Executive Director of the Lucille W. Gorn Intergenerational Community Center. To my right, we have Deborah Moody, who is our Director of Programs at the Center. And we also have Miss Ruby Taylor, who is a community leader and the president of our Quilters group. I thought we would start off today by sharing with you our video as an introduction.
The Lucille W. Gorn Intergenerational Community Center is a collaboration with the West Greenville community, the City of Greenville, East Carolina University, and Pitt Community College to help promote health, education, and employment for this community.
The idea of the center was to bring the services that surround this community to this community. And this center has become that vehicle to help people get to the level that they want to reach.
We provide educational programs, health services, economic development, and it's all a partnership. That's what makes this so valuable and I think so successful.
ECU has used so many of its resources, like students for internships and money and just whatever resources they have to help this community that's like right next door.
This is a program that is as truly engaged in the community as a program can get. This is community engagement at its best. And what I mean by that is the community owns this.
Because we're an intergenerational center, it's important that we use the strengths of one generation to help promote those strengths in another.
The quilters come here, they walk, they say they're not afraid to come here anymore. We had gang members hanging on the corner the first day we came. You don't see any gang members around the center anymore. People don't need a lot to get to that next place. Sometimes all they need is somebody who believes they can make it to that next step.
This place is one of those places that gives people a vision for the future, a belief in themselves.
You have to feel rewarded after watching the looks in people's eyes when they know that their lives have changed. Sometimes you just need somebody to believe you can get there, and that's what we do.
I'd like to paint a picture for you about our community. And the West Greenville community is actually nestled right in between ECU's main campus and medical campuses. It is predominantly African American, with about 90% of the residents are African American, who have a real strong sense of family, a shared cultural history, and many elder leaders in the community. However, we also face a lot of challenges. 63% of our children are living in poverty. We also have more than half of all the violent crimes in our county occur in West Greenville. We have real food desert happening. We don't have access to fresh fruits and vegetables. And even though we're located just probably less than a mile away from a major hospital, we have some real urgent health disparities happening. We have our mortality rate is actually 392% higher than our county for lung cancer and HIV/AIDS. So we have some real urgent issues going on, and that's a lot of the reason why we brought the partnership together to meet some of these needs. And I'm going to have our Director of Programs talk to you about, Ms. Moody is actually also one of the founders of the center. So thank you.
Good afternoon. I guess it's afternoon right now. We've been waiting around so long. I'm glad to be here today because what I want to do is tell you a story. I want to tell you a story about a community who had people living in houses that were boarded up. I want to tell you a story about a community where 80% of its residents were renters and only 20% were homeowners. I want to tell you a story about a community that's nestled right between the East Campus and the West Campus of a major university that didn't have the resources in that community to help it survive. I want to tell you about a story that goes like this. We went to East Carolina University, Dr. Leslie Bass, who worked there as a social worker, and the city of Greenville, who said, we need help with revitalizing this area. And we went to city and to Greenville and to East Carolina University, and this is what we said. If you help us build it, they will come. If you help us build it, they will come. And ECU did that. They stepped up to the plate. Now, I don't want to tell you that was easy. You know, ECU is a bureaucracy. And they said, no, we can't do those kinds of things in the community. And we said, yes, we need these things to help this community believe it's going to work. Because this community didn't trust this major university who had passed them by all these years and watched their lives go down. This was a community on a respirator. And what they needed was for somebody to come along and give them some aid. And that's what East Carolina University did. They picked up the ball and ran with it. There were no programs for these children, no programs for the elders in this community. All we had were all of these empty buildings. And all of a sudden we said, okay, let's ask this community what they want. And so when we went to them, they said, okay, we need help with health care. We need employment in order to stay here in our community. We need education. And so ECU is a four-year university. And a lot of times people can't step right into a four-year university. So ECU reached out to Pitt Community College to get those GED classes going. And we have 2 going during the day and 1 going at night. We need student success. We needed people to understand that they could make it. We needed to be that vehicle to help them help themselves. We needed to build it so that they would come. We wanted them to have a better quality of life. And that's what ECU and this community has done. We set forth a memorandum of understanding because we don't want people to be, you know how you volunteer and then when you get tired, it's raining, you say, I'm not going no more. So we needed people to be committed. And so we said, okay, if the city wants this commitment from us, then let's make them stand up too. And so we have a memorandum of understanding between the city of Greenville and East Carolina University that's binding, that's renewed every 2 years, that's updated based on the needs of this community. We have 2 boards, a community advisory board that's made up of community members like Ms. Taylor here. And also each partner that's on board is on that board for the advisory board. But more importantly, we have a planning team that the chancellor assigned 5 members of East Carolina University and 5 members from the community who volunteered to be on that board to guide this ship as we try to build this community and rebuild this community on its own. Carrie? We have a program called the apprenticeship, youth apprenticeship program, because we realized that the youth in that community didn't have anywhere to go. We had kids that were 16, 17, 18 years old with no degree, no high school diploma, couldn't get a job, out there on drugs, in gangs. What we did was set up a lifestyle skills for them during the day where we teach them how to do a resume, fill out a job application, look somebody in the eye to get that job that they need. And then we contracted with local businesses to be able to have these kids come in and learn a profession that will be marketable when they walked out of our facility. Because see, it doesn't do any good to do one part and not the other because they didn't have the skills. So we wanted to give them the life skills to make it and the skills to do the work to walk out there and get a job. And guess what? 60% of them are now hired by those businesses that we sent out. That's what this program has done in this community. That's a large group of kids that we touched in this program. We built this program from the ground up, Carrie. Mrs. Taylor wants to talk to you about the quilters and these ladies who come to the center every Monday and Tuesday to work. She's a community member there.
Good afternoon. My name is Ruby Taylor. I live in Greenville, North Carolina. I am a quilter of the IGC Center, also a member of the Advisory Board Committee. The Quilting Club was started by Dr. Bass, who started the center 5 years ago. She looked into the neighborhood to see what could be done in the community. She passed out flyers around in the neighborhood and asked for a meeting. And within the meeting, there were seniors and young people. She wanted the center to serve the community. From the meeting, the quilters were formed. She was interested also in quilting. The quilters, we are now with 10 members. We make quilts, laptops, handkerchiefs, throw pillows, baby clothes, and we also made a quilt for one of our workers out of old baby clothes that she had. We also go into the school, as you see, to teach the children, boys and girls, how to quilt. They start with which is yo-yos there, and do the squares, squares. The children are given pieces of material to take home to their parents to show them what they do. We also make quilts for people and sell them in the community. One of our quilts we made was that one lady had went all around the world of different places and different cities and states and made it, and she traveled. We also have given a quilt to the Ronald McDonald House. The quilters participate in any other projects that the center has. We invite others to join us in quilting, knitting, and embroidery. Our prayer to us is to help with the center. We give money to help in any way we can. We enjoy working with the community center and seeing how the youth are learning. The IGC Center is the best thing that could happen to me and our community. Thanks to Dr. Bass and Ms. Moody for all the help that they have done. Also, East Carolina University, which is part of the center. May God bless you all.
Well, it's hard to follow up, Ms. Taylor, but I'd like to talk a little bit about scholarship. One of the things that's happened with the center in the community is that we've kind of slowly changed the culture to really support research. And we did that slowly. You know, in the beginning, you didn't really even want to hear the word research in the community, but what we've done is we've taken that first needs assessment that Dr. Bass did, and one of the most pressing issues was health. And we got the community together, and we had a kind of meeting of really working together to develop some goals and objectives of what we wanted to find out in terms of health in the community. Then we brought in faculty, students, and the community together to really bring our resources together and to really bring our expertise in place. And we conducted a community needs assessment with the community where we went to a randomly selected homes in the community to really assess those needs. But I think the beauty of the community health needs assessment for the community was that we were able to use the results to really help build capacity, and also use those results to try to bring funding for programs for health. And one of the things that we have to discuss for our future is a new program for health and wellness for young and old. And that was really, we're able to do that with using the results of the community-based needs assessment. We also have intergenerational focus, so it really lends itself well to really working with other disciplines in the university.
The lessons learned, we had to tell the truth. We couldn't go into this community and lie to them, because they wouldn't have trusted us. So we had to tell them the truth, even if it wasn't what they wanted to hear. We had to be flexible. We had to understand that their needs came first, and that we had to ask them what it was that they needed. We had to learn that the partners had to be responsible and step up to the plate. Once you made a commitment, to come in there and do it. And we had to learn how to maintain a staff that wanted to do this kind of work, because it is hard. You do work 10, 12, 14 hours a day, and it's not good pay. But you have to have a heart to do this. You have to believe that it's something you want to do. One of the things we did was to make sure that we had enough volunteers, but we also have ECU students coming from every discipline to this campus, to this, we call it a campus. IGCC has 6 buildings on it. And so we have students from every discipline to come over and assist us with this program. 5 years ago, no programs in this community. Today, we have a Yes After School program. We have an apprentice program for 16-year-olds. We have a senior program. We have a community garden. We have a quilting group. We have GED classes. We have job readiness classes. We have Saturday Academy, and we have cultural enrichment with martial arts, because you know kids, they want to do things that are active. With martial arts, golf, all the things that we want them to learn. This program has done it. If you build it, they will come. And last year, 16,270 people came through that center. Thank you.
In your process of engagement, you talked about trust quite a bit. Can you reflect on when there was a threshold of event or threshold moment as you developed that both university and community got to that point?
Yes. First of all, we had to bypass, the community had been displaced years ago when the city came in and did revitalization before. And so we had to convince them that this time that would not happen. But what we did was we set up a series of community meetings in every church, every school, every community group that was there. But we told them the truth. When people had to be moved out so that they could redo their houses, we told them that, but we made sure the city gave them a place to stay in the process. And then the community started to believe that what we were saying was true, and that they could trust what we were going to do with them.
From the university, just follow up on the university side, because I thought your point was very poignant that as the university can come in and use us in the concept of research. How did you get past that user perspective or stereotype to partners?
That's a good point. A lot of it was working with the planning team, month to month, being visible, working with the students, bringing them in. I think Debbie said it best with just being honest and making sure that you're always present, you're always there, you follow through with what you're saying. That's really helped. Another thing that's helped, I think, from the university perspective is bringing in those resources. Especially, Debbie talked about the staff, this committed staff. It's bringing the resources, students helping to write grants for the center. We actually have a grant competition that is, it's almost like American Idol, but for grants, so that the community can come and they vote on the grant that best meets the community needs. So it's that resource piece is just so important.
And the center has become a model that people across the country are now calling us to duplicate. When we tried to find a model for it, we couldn't find one quite like this. And now people are calling us to say, how do we get this done? And they're actually flying in to meet with us at the center to set it up in their communities as well. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Next, we'll go to the west. Colorado State University. Crowdsourcing, climate change, and student science. Teresa Bowes-Elsholz and her team. Oh, they're right here. Oh, do we have drinks to serve?
We are right out of our rain gauge. We're going to show you. Good morning, everyone. My name is Henry Regis. I'm the national coordinator for CocoRa's. With me today is Noah Newman and Teresa Bowes-Elsholz from Valparaiso University. We're at Colorado State University. Oh, yeah, I guess we need to put our presentation up. Let me create a little rainstorm. I was hoping there wasn't coffee in this, so that's a good start this morning. I'm going to pass this around for everybody to take a look at. This is a rain gauge that we use. And how many folks out there are familiar with CocoRa's? Have heard about CocoRa's? Maybe a volunteer? Okay, how many folks have had a family member or somebody in the past measure rainfall at their farm, maybe at their house? There's a lot we're familiar with rain. It falls on all of us, and that's what we want to talk about with our project today. No, we got it?
I'm trying to find it.
Right there.
Oh, sorry, thank you.
There we go. So, we're going to talk a little bit about what we do, and we're all over the country. We're engaging folks from Florida and the Keys up to University of Maine along the Maine coast. We've got volunteers doing that. Move across the country. Next week I'll be in Wisconsin talking to our volunteers at the University of Wisconsin, through Montana, up to Alaska, out to Hawaii, down to Arizona, Texas, you name it. Right here in Alabama we have volunteers out there measuring precipitation. And over 16,000. So let's do a quick, I'm going to get the lights, and we're going to take a look at a quick video here on who we are. 2 minutes, it'll give you a quick encapsulation.
CocoRa's, the Community Collaborative Rain, Hail, and Snow Network. If you don't know already, CocoRa's is a grassroots volunteer network made up of people of all ages and backgrounds who measure and map precipitation, be it rain, hail, or snow. The CocoRa's mission is twofold: to provide quality precipitation data as well as educational opportunities. Using low-cost measuring tools, volunteers figure out how much precipitation fell in their backyard. Then they go to the CocoRa's interactive website, which shows how much precipitation fell and where it hit. Observers provide this information daily and in real time for alerts of extreme weather events. Each measurement is like a pixel in a picture, and the more pixels, the better the resolution of where the precipitation did and did not fall. And what does that picture tell us? Rain doesn't fall the same on all. Precipitation can vary inches from just blocks away. The information our observers provide is used by various groups within the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, including the National Weather Service, who uses the data for river forecasting, to verify radar estimates, and to improve on local forecasts and warnings, among other things. Also, the National Drought Mitigation Center for drought impacts, the National Hurricane Center to describe the overall impacts of tropical cyclone events, farmers, gardeners, and naturalists for crop and botany health, coastal fisheries for safe harvesting of shellfish, mosquito control, and schools for education and research, just to name a few. Even some Major League Baseball clubs have started measuring and using the data at their ballparks. With your help, we can all better understand the anatomy of a storm, which can directly provide early warnings of potential hazardous storms in your community. Here are 5 easy steps to get started. 1. Simply sign up on the CocoRa's webpage, www.cocoras.org. 2. Obtain a 4-inch diameter high-capacity rain gauge. The info for getting one is on the website. 3. View the online training slideshow or attend a training session. 4. Set up the gauge in a good location in your yard. 5. Start observing precipitation and report online daily. It's cheap, it's easy, and it's fun. We need your help, so come and join us, and soon you'll be just like us. Cuckoo for CocoRa's.
Thanks. Yeah. So who are we? Well, we started back in 1997. There was a giant flash flood in Fort Collins, Colorado. And from there, we realized there weren't a lot of measurements going on in the community at that time. So Nolan Duskin, our director, started Kokoros in '98. And so we're made up of all kinds of volunteers. We have volunteers of all ages and backgrounds. We have folks from elementary school all the way up to people in their 90s. And I got a message a couple weeks ago. A lady wrote me, she said, "Thank you so much for giving my husband, he's retired, to get up and do something in the morning." Goes out and makes that measurement. So they take the daily measurement in their backyard using that rain gauge that you saw. And, well, let's just talk about what we use. So the rain gauge, it's 4-inch diameter, high-capacity rain gauge. It costs about $30. And we have the volunteers purchase those because we found out if we gave them out, a lot of times they sat in the box. So investment in the program. We also have aluminum foil wrapped styrofoam hail pads. We put those out. When the hailstorm comes along, it leaves a footprint. We're able to analyze those back at the university. And then in the winter, I'm sure a lot of you guys love snow. You probably don't see much of it down here in Alabama, but we have folks measure snow, and we have our rulers marked in tenths of an inch, and they go out and do that. So those are a couple of things. And we just specialize in precipitation. Years ago, I remember hearing Kentucky Fried Chicken say, we just do chicken, just do one thing right. Our thing is to do precipitation. And much to our surprise, we found out that we became the largest source of daily precipitation measurements in the United States, which is a pretty amazing thing. We're internet-based, so when folks take that observation in the morning, they go to the internet, they go to our website, they put their information in, they each get a station number, and the information is made available immediately. So, excuse me. So we drill right down to the community level. You can look at a national map of what has fallen. We go to a county level. We can look at a neighborhood and say, wow, you know, we got this much rain in this part of the county, that much rain in that part. And people start looking at precipitation patterns and start realizing what's a dry and a wet part of the county. Also in table form, they're able to do that. But the neat thing is people can see what they measured right away on our maps. And then we're national with local community emphasis. We have over 16,000 volunteer observers across the country. And we're in Hawaii and Alaska. We've just expanded into Canada, and I spoke with some folks from Mexico recently. So we're starting to grow internationally. We have over 250 volunteer state and regional coordinators. These are folks, professionals from the Weather Service, environmental folks. Teresa here is one of them in Indiana. And then from there, we go down to the county level where we have county coordinators, many, many more. But it's an important, people start to recognize these local patterns of weather and climate and those impacts. So as we engage folks in their community, they see not only what measures right in their backyard and across town, but across the country. So we can watch these patterns move, and it provides some really interesting information. There's a picture at the ballpark. Minnesota Twins have put a gauge out there by their dugout now. And one thing we've learned, a lot of times the rain varies. If you see this picture, no rain here, no rain there, but it rains right in one spot. You've all seen it rain on one side of the street. You go out 2 blocks away, the pavement's dry. So we're starting to make more awareness of that and make people climate literate. Beneficial to agriculture, local gardens. How many folks out here have gardens in their backyards? Maybe some master gardeners through Extension. We work with folks there. We've got a resource for master gardeners. We also look at the water year, and so how much rain has fallen, people can use that. We're started with evapotranspiration, so not only what falls from the sky, but what goes back up, and that is used to kind of look at the water cycle. We teach people the water cycle through that. Folks can compare measurements back and forth with each other, and so it's a great thing if you're gardening. I'm actually, you guys talk about community gardens. I'm a community garden person myself, and this is a really neat thing to engage with that. And then universities. We are in many, many universities. You can see some of our folks, our coordinators up there. And so the universities' partnership with their communities around the country in doing this, both providing data, but also engaging people. So they normally wouldn't have talked to a certain group of folks, but now this low common denominator of a rain gauge helps open up those conversations. And it's a collaborative effort. You can see Valparaiso, Rutgers, Florida State, OSU, Michigan State, NC State, Purdue, you name it, probably the university you guys are at, we're working with you guys out there. And the data is used by a lot of folks. That was the interesting thing with CocoRoss. We started out as an educational project. We wanted to educate folks, and then the data we found that was of such high quality, it's quality control, that it started being used by all these different folks. And so the USDA, the Weather Service, we've got some folks from the Weather Service here in our audience today, use this on a daily basis to take a look and make forecasts, verify the radar. The Hurricane Center uses it. The National Drought Mitigation Center, you guys probably experienced some drought, how dry it was this summer. We take a look at that as well. Mosquito control, who would think, what would CocoRoss with mosquito control? People look at the ponding of water in their communities where West Nile virus might break out. So different things like that. NASA's using it. The Department of Defense, the National Research Lab has taken our information and is using that as well. So all these different partnerships, it's kind of a fun thing. It's a fun project to be involved with. People enjoy it, and it's actually making real impacts. People are using it. It doesn't go in a book somewhere. A lot of times you'll do a project, they put the data somewhere. Here it's used in real time and having impacts on people. And, oh, one last one here. Environmental outreach. So different places around the country. Wellfleet Bay, I was out on Cape Cod recently. They got a rain gauge out there. Different science centers. We're teaching people all about precipitation, what rain falls, where their water comes from. And they use those measurements in their teaching. And places like Maine, coastal Maine did a thing here about shellfish harvesting. So when there's too much rain, there's too much runoff. We can kind of tell from that. So a lot of different places we're being involved in and having impacts. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Noah for the educational opportunities.
Hi, my name is Noah Newman. I'm the educational coordinator for CocoRoss. And as Henry said, we started out as an educational program, and then the data all of a sudden became so valuable that it turned into a real data-driven program. And then we decided we wanted to get back to the educational aspect as well and really focus on a K through 12 program. So we started this thing called CocoRoss for Schools. And to begin with, I actually sent out an email to all 16,000 of our volunteers and said, hey, is anyone a school teacher? Anyone doing this in your school? And sure enough, we found that there were probably over 150 teachers around the country who were implementing CocoRoss on their own at their schools. And so from there, we wanted to expand and actually make it something with a curriculum that met standards, and so we have expanded from there. But we found that there were, of course, Colorado, where we're from, I'll talk about that in just a second, but some coastal islands off of Maine, Hawaii, there's just tremendous variance of rainfall from one part of the island to the other. And so we've got a network of schools that are in Hawaii. Connections with scientists. This is really interesting. Again, this is almost a spontaneous thing that starts coming up, but we'll get emails from folks at universities saying, hey, we're looking for a specific data. For one, this school in Chapel Hill here, UNC, they were wanting to do isotope analysis. And so they actually need physical samples of the rain, not just how much rain fell, but actually the actual rain. And so they've started to partner with us and said, hey, do you have any schools out there that we can pay to have them ship the rainfall samples back to us? And that's just beginning now. We've got partnerships with NOAA, National Science Foundation for Education, and also coming up here, NASA. They've got a satellite, the GPM mission, Global Precipitation Measurement. They're actually setting up a satellite, and the kids are going to be able to ground truth what the satellite actually sees. So that's really exciting stuff. In Colorado, we started a pilot. Basically, I did a big fundraising effort to get all schools a rain gauge, and at this point, after an extensive fundraising campaign, we have pledges for any school in Colorado, all 1,800 public schools. There's a rain gauge for them if they want one. We traveled around the state and did water festivals. We have a real fun game to play where kids get to shoot squirt guns at these targets that filter into rain gauges. They all get to learn how to read a rain gauge. So I think that is it, and I'm going to actually, really quick here, we meet state and national standards. Science, math, geography, computer data entry, data analysis. We even have some art and art teachers that are doing poetry and things like that concerning rain. So with that, I will hand to Teresa with the last 2 minutes here.
I'm Teresa Balls-Elschultz, a meteorology professor at Valparaiso University, and he had statistics on there, so I wanted to put up, this is from one of my newer observers, our newer observers. He learned how to do this, had to have the step-by-step instructions on how to read a rain gauge, how to measure the snow, very step-by-step, long training session. And then I said to him, you know, you can just take this data and do something with it for like a science fair. And every month I get a new pie chart of how many days. And it's great. It's just like, I'm so excited by it. He didn't need step by step. It's so cool. This is very personal. This is my cocoa rods. My post isn't doubled, don't look. I'm in Indiana, LaPorte too. It's my backyard, and I get to measure every day. I get to do science, even though I teach it every day. I get to do it, and I think that's how it is for everyone who does cocoa rise. It's our cocoa rise. It's our backyard, and it's just so cool. But then it goes to the big picture. Every county maybe has 1 or 2 places where they measure rain or precipitation. Now we're covering the map, and we would not get this picture of snowfall. And your station would not be in the max of 28, and, okay, mine was 31 and a half, I had to put that. But it's the individual stations making a big picture. We'd have maybe a 20-inch snowfall without all the cocoa rise people there. And the Weather Service would not know about this snowfall and wouldn't be able to report it. The Chicago news stations wouldn't report it without that. So it's the personal going public. In Northwest Indiana, I get to, all the corner people, I get to train all these people up here, and it's just amazing. We're up here, that's like Michigan at the top. They come out, they want to talk about the weather, they want to learn about the weather, they want to be involved, and I couldn't believe it the first couple times I did this, and all these people kept coming, and our university didn't have a big enough place for them. I'm not sure where I was supposed to train them. I tried to teach a weather class at a little Earth field day. I was like, oh, here's the 500 millibar maps of the geopotential heights in the, yeah, I'm putting you to sleep, and I put them to sleep, and they walked away in horror. I get to do science now to teach the public, and I can talk about complicated things and simple things. I love getting to do science to everyone. So it's outreach for the university, it's outreach for Purdue. I get to work with the cooperative extension folks from in every county. My students get to help out. They're working with these people. It's kind of these gateways for them to go work at Weather Service offices and meet people. It's personal to public. It's professional. So the snow, there's lake effect snow coming down on our Valpo radar. The students use this to do a research class this year. We had our first, we're undergraduates only, we don't have graduate students. Students use the snow gauge data, the measurements, to verify what the radar was seeing, to verify the climatology, and to present that at a Great Lakes operational meteorology workshop to professionals. So they're using this data statistically, mapping, and climate in a theoretical way, so pretty cool. We have radar meteorologist is taking the individual rain gauge readings and then mapping those into what it would look like in a map on the bottom here. So here's the cocoa rise all mapped up in a fancy map. Pretty simple stuff. And then here's what the radar sees. So verifying what the radar sees. The Valpo radar is like the new upgraded National Weather Service. This is a new product. We're trying to make sure everything works right, and so we're helping. So we're stepping that knowledge up, up the chain. It's 10-year-olds, it's 14-year-olds, it's 90-year-olds. It's my dad. It's my sister. It's universities. It's just everything. It's just, you know, it's getting people to think about science. It's getting things about their world. Everyone loves to talk about the weather. Now we get to do something about it every morning, or, you know, maybe every other morning if you're not awake, or you can go on vacation. We let them. They're volunteers. So that's what's pretty cool.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
Any questions?
Why don't you introduce the guys from NOAA?
Let me get your question real quick and then we'll introduce it. Sure.
Okay. How do you really engage your local community?
What we do through that, we've got our local coordinators. So our local coordinators are there to kind of move people along. We've had potlucks together with folks. We've had picnics. We've done trainings. We're in the newspaper. They'll help them get set up. We'll encourage them through emails and so forth. So it's kind of our local coordinators who really work on the local level.
Yeah, one of the things we try to emphasize is the local decision-making process. And what decisions do they have to make in this process? What is their decision-making role?
They would help to decide, and we look at QC. So they would take a look at the precip and say, did he really get 2 inches of snow there, or was there's something that maybe is not accurate?
I
So
get emails from someone.
Sure.
So said this. Is that really true? You know, it's like, well, I think, you know, so they're taking a hand in the science, I guess.
Before, let me just introduce our National Weather Service folks over here from our Huntsville and also from our Birmingham office. You guys just raise your hands real quick and come out and support the chair's on. I know we're running out of time. Is there another question?
Just a comment. I just want to congratulate you because you had a choice. You could have done this in a dry manner. Sorry for that. Or in a fun way.
Sure.
And so
Well,
you chose to do it.
We're all about fun. I don't know if you guys ever listen to Car Talk or those radio shows. That's kind of us. We like to have fun and do what we're doing.
And the zeros count.
That's right. Was there one? I know.
If you can answer this question correctly, you will automatically win.
Oh, okay.
Control the weather.
I'm sorry?
If you figured out how to control the weather.
We have a button at CSU, and we haven't publicized as much, but there's a switch. It's a little faulty right now for the crowd, but I really can't talk about it. Thank you very much.
I think we heard 4 completely different projects or proposals, and I know our judges have a very, very difficult task, but I know they'll do a tremendous job and come up with the right decision. And I want to congratulate our 4 teams who presented, and I think you really exemplify what we really meant by community engagement, how we engage, how we share information, reciprocity between our universities and our communities, the decision-making process, the scholarship of engagement, and those things that we try to emphasize. Let me express my thanks and appreciation to our panel of judges, our presidents who took time out to do this. And I also want to thank our regional judges. I see Jim Zaitis in the room. I'm not sure if we have others in the room who participated in the regional process. Okay, Lou, thank you very much for Lou Swanson from, I don't want to announce your school, but yes, he's from Colorado State, but he did not judge the Western region, okay? And Jim did not judge the South. We put them in different regions. Again, and Karen runs from Ohio State, another of our judges. And this has really been worthwhile, and I do appreciate your various presentations. Again, thanks, and this session is now ended, adjourned. Thank you.